Welcome to ARIRANG News. I'm Sean Lim. It's Monday, April 21st here in Seoul, and thank you for joining us on our ongoing coverage of the search and rescue operation from a sunken ferry off Korea's southwest coast. It's been more than 5 full days now since Korea's worst ferry disaster in 2 decades, with search and rescue operations continuing through the day and into the night. Unfortunately, no survivors have been found and the death toll continues to rise. Let's go live to our Ji Myung-kil standing by at Paengmok-hang Harbor, which is just 20 kilometers from the accident scene. Myung-kil, what's the latest body count?
Yes, Sean. Within the past hour, 18 bodies have been recovered, one being a foreigner, raising the total death toll to 83. Rescue teams are currently searching the 3rd and 4th floors of the vessel. More than 200 Coast Guard ships and Navy vessels, 13 fishing boats, 35 aircraft, and more than 500 divers have been deployed today. 2 remotely controlled submersibles are also searching inside the sunken ferry with the help of 2 U.S. experts.
How many people are still missing and how many of them are the high school students?
Well, hundreds of people are still missing currently, and nearly 90% of those are from Taenon High School in Ansan. Family members of the missing took a boat ride to the site of the sinking earlier today. Search and rescue operations will also continue throughout the night as the divers will be working around the clock. Flares and fishing boats with powerful lights will help the divers operate in the dark. Currently, 6 guide ropes have been attached to the vessel.
So how will the weather conditions look tonight?
Well, the weather conditions seem fair quite tonight, with winds blowing up to 5 meters per second and tidal waves at the 1 meter level. This was Ji Myung-kil live from Paengmok-hang Harbor.
All right, thank you, Myung-kil. In the days that immediately followed the Sewol-ho ferry accident, search and rescue efforts were seriously hindered by fast-moving tidal currents. But thankfully, conditions are expected to improve this week, which should help divers navigate through treacherous waters near the sunken vessel. Our Park Ji-won has the details.
Calm waves and clear skies. Wind speeds and wave heights were cut in half on Monday compared to the previous day as a high-pressure front moved into the area. Weather conditions have finally turned favorable for search and rescue crews in waters off Jindo Island, and the clear weather is forecast to continue through this Friday. Strong tidal currents, which significantly hampered the rescue operations last week, have also slowed.
Last week was the time when the current speeds were the fastest, and from the 19th it has been slowing down. Starting this Tuesday, the speeds will be at their slowest.
Last week, the maximum speed of the currents in the area were 2.8 meters per second, or over 10 kilometers per hour. That's expected to drop as low as about 1 meter per second, especially from this Tuesday to Thursday. When tidal currents slow, underwater visibility improves with less floating particles in the sea. That's why experts believe this week will be a turning point in search operations inside the sunken Sewol-ho ferry. Park Ji-won, ARIRANG News.
The puzzle over what might have caused the Sewol-ho ferry to sink is slowly coming together. And though the rough weather conditions outside didn't create quite the perfect storm, human error may have triggered one inside. Our Kim Min-ji reports on the 3 factors that experts suspect caused the ferry to capsize.
Around 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, April 16th, the Seoul ferry passed through treacherous waters which are notorious here in Korea for their strong currents. 18 minutes later, the ferry veers suddenly, which is being pointed to as the first factor in the sinking.
What it means by the vessel supposedly making a P-turn is that the helm was turned to the right, then back again. But the boat didn't come back to its original position. Operations momentarily froze, which results in the ferry making a complete turn.
Due to centrifugal force, the vessel tilts to the left. Now this is when the second factor may have come in. Grips holding down on the ferry's freight may have come loose, causing containers and vehicles in the cargo compartment to lift sharply to one side. The weight concentrated on just one side of the ferry causes it to tilt even further. If the vessel had enough dynamic stability, the vessel could have bounced back to the other side and maintained balance. However, due to renovations to increase the vessel's capacity, the center of gravity on the ship had been raised from its original design.
Due to the expansion of the ship, the upper structure has been changed, making the center of gravity much higher. If the center of gravity and buoyancy are far apart, the dynamic stability decreases.
Experts say the reduced dynamic stability caused the vessel to completely submerge because it wasn't able to recover from the initial tilt. They add that the Seoul ferry may not have had enough ballast water, which maintains the balance of the vessel in order to carry more cargo. As all three factors could have been prevented, experts say the sinking will likely be attributed to human error. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
President Park Geun-hye has spoken out in no uncertain terms about the captain and crew of the sunken Seoul ferry, likening their actions on the day the ship capsized to murder. She also gave a slap on the wrist to public officials who have been criticized for inefficiency and backed it up with a real threat to punish those responsible. Our Yu Lian reports.
먼저 무엇보다 선장과 일부 승무원들의 행위는 상식적으로 도저히 납득할 수 없고 용납될 수 없는 살인과도 같은 행태였습니다.
Likening the act to murder, President Park Geun-hye criticized the actions taken by the captain and his crew at the time of the accident during a meeting with senior secretaries on Monday. A communications log had revealed that the captain and crew members of the Seoul ferry had called on passengers to stay where they were during the time of the accident. President Park vowed to make sure justice is handed down.
저는 반드시 단계별로 철저하게 규명해서 무책임과 부조리, 잘못된 부분에 대해서는 강력히 책임을 물을 것입니다.
The captain and two other crew members are now charged with negligence of duty and violation of maritime law. President Park also had pointed words for public officials, some of whom have been facing criticism for inadequate efforts in rescue operations.
국민들이 공무원을 불신하고 책임 행정을 하지 못하고 있다는 비난을 받는다면 그 책무를 소홀히 하고 있는 것이고 그 자리에 있을 존재의 이유가 없는 것입니다.
During the days following the accident, families of the victims grew furious at the government-related personnel and also the Coast Guard for making conflicting announcements on the number of victims and survivors. The families also expressed frustration that the numbers of rescue personnel dispatched to the site and the numbers announced by the government did not match up. Yurian, ARIRANG News.
While the nation mourns and prays for some positive developments, there are those taking advantage of the horrible tragedy through mobile text messaging scams. The Science Ministry said it has so far identified 7 kinds of smishing scams using text messages that lure people into phishing sites that extract personal data. It warned people not to click on any links sent to their mobile phones and to immediately delete these messages since they could be embedded with malicious codes. The government and police also say they will hunt down and punish those who post false information on the internet regarding the ferry accident. Investigations to find out the exact cause of the ferry sinking, as well as those who may be responsible, as we said, are underway. For more, let's go now to our Na Hyung-kyung at the News Center. So Hyung-kyung, the joint investigation team got a hold of mobile messenger records of some 400 people that were aboard the Sewol-ho ferry.
Yes, those 400 include passengers and crew members. And investigators are analyzing the mobile messages, hoping that those will help determine the timeline of events and find out what exactly caused the ship to sink, as well as what kinds of actions the crew members took. Now, officials will also closely look into the messages that were exchanged among the crew. In the meantime, on top of 3 crew members already arrested, including the captain, the joint investigation team arrested 4 additional crew members, and with reports saying that the 20-year-old Sewol-ho ferry might have undergone renovation to overly extend its sailing life for 7 years, some 20 people related to the renovation were summoned as well.
And the Education Ministry has prohibited schools from taking their students on mass school trips.
That's right. The Ministry of Education told the country's 17 metropolitan and provincial education offices not to take their students on any mass school trips, at least for the first semester of this year. The decision was made at a meeting this Monday. The ministry plans to develop and distribute safety manuals to help schools safely guide their students when traveling by airplanes or water transportation. Education officials also decided to temporarily postpone any training activities for students if safety measures are not properly in place.
And throughout the day, there was some confusion on whether a Jeju Coast Guard official called Danwon High School at 8:10 a.m. on the day of the accident. What does that mean?
Yeah, earlier this Monday, the Gyeonggi-do Provincial Office of Education said a Danwon High School teacher received a call from the Jeju Coast Guard asking for a cell phone number of a teacher in charge of the field trip that brought more than 300 Danwon High School students on board the Sewol-ho ferry on the day of the accident. But Jeju Coast Guard officials are now saying that it was a local policeman who called Danwon High School and not one of their officials. The caller, unaware of the fact that the ferry's arrival time had been delayed, went out to the port to meet the students and apparently called the school when he didn't see the ferry coming in. Now, if it was a Jeju Coast Guard official, Jeju authorities would likely face heavy criticism for not taking emergency measures promptly, because the call time, as you said, Sean, was said to be around 8:10 a.m., which is about 40 minutes before the sunken ferry is recorded to have first contacted the Marine Traffic Service at its destination, Jeju Island. Now, more investigation will be needed to officially confirm the facts and details. Sean.
Thank you, Hyung-kyung. Well, hospital staff at the Paengmok-hang Hospital, located in Korea's southern Jeollanam-do province, has been working around the clock to treat survivors and prepare for more bodies that have been recovered. For the latest, we turn to our Kim Hyun-bin standing by at the site. Hyun-bin.
Hey Sean, no bodies or survivors have arrived since I got here early morning, and this hospital is one of the 5 that are processing the bodies for identification, as well as collecting DNA samples. All the bodies were transferred to hospitals near their hometowns as of yesterday, and a medical helicopter is on standby along with 2 medics so that the hospital can efficiently transfer rescue survivors or the deceased. As for the survivors, 31 were hospitalized here at the accident last week, and currently there are 11 still receiving treatment. Since rescue operations are well into a 6th day now, hopes of finding survivors are slowly dimming, and officials are expecting more bodies to be transferred here in the coming days. Back to you, Sean.
How are the survivors holding up? I understand many are suffering from mental disorders.
Not well. Doctors say that all the survivors are suffering from post-traumatic stress, and roughly half are under medication, and which is a clear indication of the severity of their condition. Family members are also suffering from shock. One of the fathers of a missing student suffered a stroke, and some of the survivors are suffering from depression and even amnesia. This has been Kim Hyun-bin reporting live at the Paengmok-hang Hospital. Back to you, Sean.
Thank you, Hyun-bin. And let's connect now to the hospital here near Seoul that's caring for local survivors and the deceased. Connie Kim is standing by at the Korea University Ansan Hospital, where many of the deceased have arrived. What's the latest?
Hi, Sean. I'm currently standing by at Korea University Ansan Hospital. Now, 6 of the deceased that arrived from Mokpo are still lying here, with 5 of them expected to be released to their parents earlier tomorrow morning. Now, a joint memorial altar will be set up for the Tanon High School students located in Ansan Olympic Memorial Hall, which is about 10 minutes away from here. Friends and relatives will be able to pay their respects there starting Wednesday. Parents of the deceased have delayed releasing their children after requesting an autopsy to find out the direct cause of death. Now, they want to know whether their children died from drowning or from hypothermia after waiting inside an air pocket in the vessel. This is critical in determining whether the government was fast enough with their rescue operations, and parents say they'll hold the government responsible if this was not the case. Also, parents of the children on board the sunken Seodo ferry will announce an appeal in front of Tanon High School, urging for swift rescue operations and criticizing the media for indiscriminate report on this incident. The bodies of 8 victims from this tragedy were released to their families today. The city of Ansan continues to grieve for those it has lost so suddenly and so tragically.
It certainly has to be a traumatic time for everyone there. How about the students who survived this horrible ordeal? How are they holding up?
Well, there are currently 81 patients receiving medical treatment here, and according to the director of the hospital, he says that victims that were suffering from mental distress and depression have improved compared to when they first got here. Now, they will continue to monitor the students, saying that currently 1 out of 4 students are not sleeping well and that about 20% of them will need psychological therapy. After monitoring their status, the hospital will decide whether students can return to their daily lives within the next 3 days or so. A team composed of experts from the Welfare, Education Ministry, the city of Ansan, and Gyeonggi-do Province will continue to look after them. This was Connie Kim reporting live from Korea University Ansan Hospital.
All right, thank you so much, Connie. The Sewol-ho ferry tragedy has hit Tanwon High School especially hard, as more than 300 of its students were on board the vessel when it capsized. The school will reopen its doors this week for sophomores and seniors who will be met with the help of professionals who will guide them through the most difficult moments of their lives. Kwon So-hwa has this report.
Despite still being in severe shock, students of the Tanwon High School in Ansan will be returning to their classrooms this week. Laughter and joy filled the ship when it departed on a school trip to Jeju Island, but now there are only tears left. The Sewol-ho was carrying 325 students from Tanwon High School in their junior years. The school has temporarily closed twice since Wednesday, the day of the incident, but there were concerns from parents of sophomores and seniors who asked that students be able to return to their daily routines as soon as possible. The Gyeonggi Provincial Office of Education held a briefing Sunday and announced its plan to reopen the school this Thursday. When students return, the focus will be on helping the students cope with the traumatic events of the past several days.
We will primarily progress with a therapy program to help the students recover from the mental shock, and will gradually return to usual class schedules.
There are currently around 100 doctors and therapists ready to help at the high school. The students of Tanwon High School are also grieving over the death of their vice principal, who was rescued from the Sewol-ho ferry but later committed suicide over apparent feelings of guilt. Experts worry that many students will be affected by post-traumatic stress disorder, which can occur even years after a shocking incident occurs. Kwon So-hwa, ARIRANG News.
The terrible loss of so many young souls has plunged the entire nation in deep sorrow and despair. In respect to the victims and the still missing, TV stations have canceled entertainment shows, baseball and soccer matches are being played in silent stadiums, and the public has massed for candlelight vigils. Seo Mi-sorang has more.
An accident that has left so many in disbelief. People all over the country had their eyes and ears fixed on news of the ferry disaster. It was to share the weight of the tragic accident and console families who were told by their children that they love them and that they shouldn't worry. Weekend prime time. Laughter has faded from what would normally be a fierce entertainment competition between the major television networks. With one of Korea's favorite sports, baseball season in full swing, all the loudspeakers and cheerleaders have disappeared from the stadiums. All that is left is the players who solemnly play without any cheering or events. People in Korea are sharing the pain as if it is a loss of their own, something the country has experienced in times of need.
I wanted to help in any way that I could, so I joined the candlelight vigil. I really hope that with the whole country coming together, that a miracle will happen.
During the 1997 Asian financial crisis, the Korean public donated their wedding rings and other gold items to help the country pull out of the economic crisis. And after one of the worst oil spills off the Taean coast in 2007, the area was able to recover its nature after an endless number of volunteers helped clean up the spill. Regardless of whether it is for good or bad times, the nation has been able to come together, setting individual needs aside and sharing a spirit of unity.
Korea has a strong collective sentiment. This is something that is just as important as collective intelligence. The entire country is sharing the sentiment that the students in the sinking are not simply children of other families, but actually part of an extended family. This is the force that brings the country together as one.
서미소랑 아리랑 뉴스.
With the weather on our side, rescue operations are picking up speed. For more, we connect live to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Weather Center. Bo-kyung, fill us in.
Sean, it's a relief that sea conditions continue to remain calm. This is largely because tomorrow through Thursday is when we'll get to see neap tides. During then, the speed of tidal currents go down to their slowest. Up till now, the tidal currents moved at a rate of about 2.8 meters per second, but during a neap tide, that will slow down to a meter per second. Well, at the moment, it's about 12.5 degrees on Chindo with misty conditions. The sea temperature remains at 11.9 degrees and waves are calm at about 0.5 meters. But strong winds are blowing at a rate about 7.7 meters per second. Now, on Tuesday, the best times to proceed with rescue operations will be at these hours as the speed of tidal currents will be at their slowest. Other than that, the weather forecast for Chindo for tomorrow looks to be similar to today, with strong winds blowing at 5 to 8 meters per second, and waves will continue to remain calm at 0.5 to a meter. That's all the weather updates I have for Chindo at this hour, and back to you, Sean.
Thanks, Bo-kyung, and that's our broadcast this hour. Stay with us for more on the search and rescue mission. I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.